Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first Pathways 2022, the Carlos Malamud Prize Artist Talk. This is the first of two artist talks that we will be having. I am Dr. Carbonell, curator at the Rollins Museum of Art. I am so glad to welcome you all to this event. And I am joined here tonight with my co-curator, Shannon Lindsey, director of the UCF Art Gallery at the University of Central Florida, who will be introducing the artist tonight. So I want to tell you a little bit of background about Pathways, the Carlos Malamud Prize. This is the first year that the UCF Art Gallery at the University of Central Florida and the Rollins Museum of Art are coming together to organize this exhibition and project. The exhibition is a collaborative partnership between the Rollins Museum of Art and the UCF Art Gallery at the University of Central Florida that celebrates and supports emerging professional artists working in Florida. It was juried by an external panel of professionals from various areas of the art world and includes 6 artists with diverse practices who have worked at both venues. And this project, the exhibition and the prize, creates opportunities for engagement with 2 of the area's major academic constituencies and their surrounding communities. The selection includes a variety of media, themes, scales, and approaches, showing a wide breadth of perspectives and experiences. This year's finalists, you will hear from 3 of them today, are Eugene Ofori AJ, Channing Gray, Aimee Jones, Eric Ondina, Ivan Riascos, and April Webb. They were selected by an independent panel of jurors composed by Liz Parks, art advisor and founder of Parks Fine Art in New York, Jonelle Logan, independent curator and vice president and creative director of the McCall Center in North Carolina, and Omari Booker, visual artist based in Los Angeles and Nashville. On behalf of the UCF Art Gallery and the Rollins Museum of Art, we want to thank our sponsors and the people who make this exhibition and project possible, the Pabst Steinmans Foundation, for their support and for making possible having the catalog for the exhibition, which you can get at both venues. And of course, Mr. Carlos Malamud of Miami, Florida, for generously providing the funds for the prize. So today we were going to be hearing more and learning more about the art practices of Ivan Riascos, Channing Gray, and Aimee Jones. And I'm going to pass it on to my co-curator and colleague, Shannon Lindsey, director of the UCF Art Gallery at the University of Illinois, at the University of Central Florida, who will be introducing the artists tonight. If you have any questions or comments about the presentation or comments or questions for the artists, please make sure to add those to the comment box. We'll make sure to have the artists address them. Thank you so much and enjoy the presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carbonell, for that introduction, and thank you so much for collaborating with us at the University of Central Florida. This has been a wonderful experience to bring these 2 great organizations together and support these incredible emerging artists. So I'm going to go through the bios and backgrounds for the 3 artists who we're talking to today, and then they will follow with their presentations. So first, Channing Gray has a practice that intersects drawing, painting, bookmaking, and installation to navigate her nomadic memories through symbolic narratives. Constellation maps, illustrated stories, and child memorabilia are muses for her method of charting connections between people, place, and time. She lives in Orlando, Florida, and works as a studio artist and preparator. Gray received her MFA in studio art at the Florida State University in 2020 and a BA in fine art from University of Central Florida in 2017. Her award-winning work has been shown regionally and through virtual media platforms internationally. Exhibition spaces include the FSU Museum of Fine Arts, Orlando Science Center, Orlando Museum of Art, and Art Fields in Lake City, South Carolina. Virtual spaces include Bean Collective, We Found Space, Social Distance Gallery, Lacuna Festivals, and Polemical Zine. She was part of 2 virtual artist residencies in 2020, Crisis Residency, Creativity in Place, and Spur World. Grace spends her spare time drawing, stargazing, and rangonauting. Aimee Jones is a visual artist and curate candidate for an MFA in studio art and graduate certificate in women and gender studies at the University of South Florida. She has exhibited in Spain, Texas, Florida, and was a participant in the Hanak Khan Borni residency in Barcelona. She specializes in painting the human figure as it's transformed in both domestic and botanical landscapes. After studying advertising in Texas, she moved to Italy to study under a ceramic artist specializing in Italian tile painting. From there, she moved to Madrid for 3 years to be an educator and has been creating work as a response to her life experience since. And lastly, Ivan Riascos is an interdisciplinary artist, earning his BFA degree from the School of Art Institute of Chicago with an emphasis in photography in 2008. He was awarded the Inslee Memorial Fellowship, Saragusa Foundation Grant, and Recognition Merit Scholarship during undergrad. In 2014, he earned his MFA degree in Emerging Media at the University of Central Florida and is awarded the MFA Provost Fellowship. He has exhibited in group shows in Atlanta, Chicago, Milwaukee, Orlando, and Tampa. He was born in Southern California to parents that immigrated from Colombia. He considers himself a diarist and an anthropologist in his practice, using various mediums such as sculpture, photography, collage, painting, ready-mades, and ceramics to address identity, religion, family, memories, perception, and relationships. Ivan has lived in Central Florida area since the age of 7, where he currently resides. He self-publishes photo-based zines, slang for a self-published magazine. He can be found at various zine festivals throughout the year, peddling his artwork. And before we turn it over to the artist, I just want to reiterate that if you have questions that you would like us to ask the artist at the end of their presentations, please put it in the chat box. Thank you so much, and we'll get started with Channing Gray.
Hi, should I jump right in and get my PowerPoint running?
Yes,
yeah. Okay.
please.
Share. Okay. So my name is Channing Gray, and I'll be talking about the Cosmic Connection series that was included in the Pathways group show. When starting this project, I wanted to combine my style of intertwining bodies with specific objects that I had collected over time. Being inspired by nautical space maps, I hope to reference certain items like the celestial bodies to follow my tumbling memories. So with the rocks that you see throughout the series that I emulated at like floating particles within the frame, I found myself picking bits of the landscape. I wanted to remember the places I visited, and a quote that comes to mind, we look to the stars, but forget the gems that lay at our feet. So I think I was wanting a piece of the world, like how stars are just pieces of the universe. I use the circle to reference the view of a telescope or the entrance to a portal of brains, a dryer tumbler tossing my clothes about. I wanted to unify those concepts into an enclosed shape where the individuals are sorting through this swirling dust. I'd hoped to use the objects as ways to symbolize specific emotions. Like I think the thread as a link that we feel when we wish to connect with others, and the arrow as a form of like protection when not just hunting, but also a way to direct ourselves to maybe paths we haven't crossed yet. With the photos linked from the right shoulder of the bottom individual, I wanted to show moments of capturing a temporary plane. Like when you look at clouds, they're never the same twice. So I always wanted to explain that feeling of constantly changing, similar to how I grew up living between my parents. The throughout the series, a lot of the figures are wearing striped clothes because it was my favorite pattern of clothing, as well as it matched the design of the wood paneling on my great grandmother's house. When my dad traveled, he would bring me a scarf from his venture. So this specific garment was the first one that he gave me on my 16th birthday. And I felt this connection with him because he taught me how to be hardworking and resourceful. So while in college, I'd save money by recycling materials and learn to make vine charcoal. So majority of my work that you see is made with charcoal that I burned. Let's see. The figures' intimacy in this series are from photos I took and collaged them together so I could find pairings that complete each other or interact in some form of conflict. I wanted a balance of these partners that are not romantic, but maybe platonic. I think I wanted them to exist together in the same space, just like how strangers exist together in public spaces. Maybe I wanted to answer this question of being this close with another, are we still strangers? Similar to collecting rocks, I thought this one was more one of the conflict kind of relations where you have one looking to the heavens with the spyglass, and then you have the other one collecting little seeds from the woods. So you have two different personalities where you have the one individual who's grounded to the earth, seeing the beauty around them, and then you have the other type where they're aloof, stargazing, and maybe with their head in the clouds. I began defining notes within my work, like a poem to myself as I sketched it out on the surface. I wanted the work to have an in progress finish with parts of a drawing and parts painted sections. I figure some of the memory dream portals are visual scripts into my chaotic mind. Having vivid dreams, I'd list them into these little journals that I'd written over the years. And I remember this one object, a bird's nest. I remember dreaming of like a room full of empty bird's nests or something emulating a bird-like structure, but it was never filled with eggs. And apparently an empty bird's nest while dreaming translates the change of abode. And I was constantly moving around the majority of my youth. This bag the bag that you see in the bottom left corner of this piece reference burden of agreement between a split family, moving between households, and wondering if remembering the objects that we take more so than the places that we move through. So, growing up, I always had to like have an extra bag with me between households because it was like, it wasn't in one place at one time from week to week. It always was preparing for the next week before I move again. And not that it was just a different lifestyle, I suppose, and I was trying to translate that through the series a little bit. The silver rings that you see spinning around the figure to the left, I reference those because I wear them a lot and they emboss my fingers as I work with my hands, and the yellow coat floating over both individuals. I found it to remember a time where I played in the woods as a kid and come home with mud dried to my clothes, and my mother wishing I wore my coat that day. But when you're a kid, you care about making a mess. You just care about making adventures, playing with sticks. This last painting is what I carried with me: tools to make things and rope to find stronger connections with people I've yet to meet. So the hands in the top right corner is the beginning of a future conversation that might become a link in friendship. The phrase in the bottom center of the circle states, "We spin in dreams." So when it comes to memory, dreaming is the state of mind where time isn't linear but overlapping as our complex emotions and our temperate interactions tumble together. This next one has a video, so it might take a second to load. There it goes. Let's see if it plays. Is it gonna play? Please play. I don't know if it doesn't play. There's a link to the YouTube video in that little cube that you see above the video. But this book is a key or a legend translating each object in the 10 paintings. So if you No. I wanted detailed drawings of each object because someone might find different meanings in the objects. So I wanted to write a poetic script describing the tales linked in the series. I won't play the whole video, but you get the idea. The left will show the prose describing the script, and I used colored pencil on cardstock and I stitched the book together. And it should be about 20 to 23 objects describing the different parts of the Cosmic Connection series. So this book, Moments in Space and Time, it started in 2017 and I completed it in 2021. It's filled with symmetrical shapes and abstracted charts, illuminating layers of the universe. I did this work privately, but I think it inspired the Cosmic Connection series with dynamic colors and flat depth of perception. Let me skip ahead. There you go. That's a good shot. So each chapter leading from outer space into inner space. So part one of the two books, starting with galaxies leading to moons, planets, atmospheres, and terrains or habitats. What I hope to do with the next part would be going into habitats of species, the skin, organs, and cells. So starting from outer space, I will slowly work each chapter into going to inner space. And I like to think that the particles or cells that are within us are like bits of stardust. And yeah, I reference stars a lot within my work, but I think maybe I'm just kind of obsessed with it. So I'm charting these weird maps of things that I find, places I barely remember and strangers I've passed by. Making these maps, I hope to find sorry, I'm reading a lot of notes. I'm really nervous, so apologize if I mix up a couple times. I had hoped to add what it means to leave a memory with others. And then next part. Okay, so the objects in the paintings, these are the actual objects. So you see the scarf, the rocks, you see the little cones on the bottom floor area, you see the little section of charcoal that I used to draw a lot, the rope, the bag. These unimportant items I've kept became important bits of memory that I wanted to share through my work. Originally I was starting off with only a few items, but as the series started, I wanted more and more items, and I had found little things that I remember. Oh yeah, like I remember when I was little, my grandpa would make me rake up pecans because they were an annoyance to him, or finding little moments in time where I thought that they were like, oh, maybe I forgot about it, but having these items helped me remember those times that passed by. I like to finish off with life is sometimes bits of memories of just finding the beauty in the little things, the people that we meet, and living between spaces. So this is the complete series hung up together with the half drawn, half painted type of work, because what life is in progress. That's it.
Thank you so much, Channing. And we will go ahead and move over to Aimee.
I'm sorry, I was muted there. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Aimee Jones. I'm a figurative painter whose work explores the topics of identity, power, and the female form. My work is a response to my personal experiences and the process of learning to have ownership of myself as a woman and to become solid in my corporal agency. In my work, I examine what building your identity looks like after a traumatic experience. The work questions where power in the body lies and what we choose to show and what to keep hidden. It has to do with how a woman chooses to present herself and how this in turn helps her to define her identity. I question what it is like to be someone who isn't constantly seen and surveyed, and the power of a woman's agency when it's no longer in the eye of their surveyor. My painting practice focuses on patterns, femininity, and the observation of color and light. Oh, come on now. There we go. All right. Let me get this. Perfect. Part of my process has always been to work from life. It is important to my practice to bring the actual object or subject to paint and draw from directly. The idea of studying my subject closely and from my personal point of view, especially organic objects, greatly interests me. I bring literal food items into my studio to better understand their colors, textures, and other formal aspects. For me, painting my meals is an extension of the corporal experience. This piece, Dinner Party, was made when I first moved back to the US from living in Spain. I had missed my once adopted home and the different food culture that emphasized meal sharing as a love language. I painted a typical family meal that I had once shared with others and integrated my US fast food meals that I had eaten in solitary while working in my studio. I thought about how our relationships to our bodies are tied to the food we consume, who we consume it with, and how. During my first year in Florida, I noticed a green leafy plant called kudzu. This plant covered trees and made them look like anthropomorphic beings. After some research, I discovered that kudzu is nicknamed the plant that ate the South. It is the most invasive plant in the southeast of the United States and grows up to a foot a day. It finds a host tree and creeps up from it all sides while feeding on the tree until eventually it has entirely covered every inch, every leaf, starving the host tree of light and water in its quest for survival. During the pandemic, I started to look at invasive plant species poetically. I started to notice how nature reclaims its space. The pandemic was extraordinary, where everyone was expected to hide in their homes all at the same time. It completely changed the landscape of our lives. When I left my house, all I could see from other humans were eyes that peered for masked and masked identities. I began to tie this use of covering the body in plants as a symbol of protection and as a shield. Along with botanical patterns, I am inspired by the Victorian photography genre called Invisible Mothers. This genre of photography was prevalent during the Victorian era when there was a need for long camera exposure times. In order to capture photographs of children, the mothers would need to camouflage themselves to hold the child still. They would be obscured by fabrics that resembled the background, or they were covered to look like pieces of furniture. Mothers were covered by blankets, rugs, wallpaper, and sometimes placed in awkward areas of the photo to later be cropped out. These women seem to exist in an in-between space of invisibility and hypervisibility. These images have their own poetry. When are women to be looked at, and when are they to be obscured? And as women, when we grow up in age, do we become invisible as we're no longer seen as sexual objects? Despite the attempts of covering, these women exist in a hypervisible way. Also, I'm not a mother myself, but I am a cat mother. So that was my version of a baby. I use the covering to suggest the female form and to abstract further the figure into a ghostly shape. Using patterns and fabric, the form is abstracted with exposed body parts, such as the hands, feet, and breast. I expose these body parts to show the assumed gesture of the form, as well as the assumed gender. I paint the exposed breasts in a smooth and unnatural manner that makes them seem surreal and unfamiliar, familiar but unreal, unattached, but serve as eyes for the figure. My work focuses on the dichotomy of power using the gaze and reversing the gaze by personifying the covered woman's exposed breast in a monstrous way. To rehumanize the body parts, the transgressive woman looks back at the viewer who is taking pleasure in looking at her. When one experiences trauma, the choice to cover or uncover can feel empowering over one's bodily autonomy. I question in my work, is there power in invisibility? For many years, art history has tied women and nature together. I acknowledge this tradition in my work by incorporating the female form within nature and interacting with it. Instead of the woman being surveyed in nature, I imagine the plants cover and integrate the figure so that it becomes half human, half plant. I imagine what it would be like if these plant humans were made of invasive species such as kudzu or hydrilla and were reclaiming their space within the landscape. Nature has been associated with feminine language. For example, the term Mother Nature suggests the earth is maternal. Since women are seen as nature, they are seen as unruly, wild, and needing to be tamed. Playing with this idea, I cover the women in aggressive invasive plant species that make both woman and plant become even more powerful, uncontrollable, and monstrous. By creating a monstrosity of women covered in invasive plant species, I look to subvert the misogynistic attitude that women need to be tamed and controlled or beholden. In the work, or unbeholden, sorry, I should say. In the work, these figures are both covered and protected while becoming empowered by these plants by reclaiming their space. My choice of plant species is gathered from local Floridian plants, including invasive species that inhabit the southern United States. Currently, I am painting covered women in domestic spaces as well. I'm experimenting with food and plants to suggest an exposed, vulnerable human body combined with patterns and traditional still life compositions. I integrate reflective surfaces to warp reality and to emphasize gestures. With exposed body parts peeking through these plants and fabrics, I play with the idea of the invisible becoming seen while hiding in plain sight. For the time being, I will be working in St. Petersburg, Florida, while teaching at USF. I plan to continue my research on coverings, patterns, invasive plant species, and feminist theory. I hope to advocate for women identifying artists through intersectional feminism and to be an art educator as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we will move to Ivan.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Ivan. So let me get my presentation started. I've decided not to go too much into detail about the specifics of the work I've made. Instead, I wanted to share thoughts on how I got to this body of work. Being the firstborn of immigrants, one of the first themes, being the first, oh shoot, hold on, it keeps playing automatically. Hopefully that should hold. Being the firstborn of immigrants, one of my main themes I keep circling back to is identity. Through my work, I've learned who I am because of my family. Even if I try to erase them from their influences and experiences, they still impacted my life in some way. Hold on. Something's going on, sorry. Don't know how that happened, so. Okay, so let me go back. So through my work, I've learned who I am because of my family. If I try to erase them from their influences and experiences, I've learned that they've still impacted my life. This became very evident in the body of work titled "A Family Album Revisited" while I worked on this. In first grade, I lived and went to a school in a Latin community in California. I didn't notice my differences until moving to Central Florida and attending mostly white school and bombarded by white pop culture, such as listening to rock music, watching Happy Days on TV, American football, and basketball. I desperately wanted to fit in. What you're seeing is a work where I transform myself to blue-eyed, blonde-haired boy and changing my name to John Scott. These are Duratrans and light boxes. Gradually over the years, I learned to accept myself and love myself. I love working with photo-based imagery because it's paper thin, but the imagery is made of ink, light-sensitive chemicals, or even pixels on the surface. This carries a lot of meaning and weight. One of the meanings it carries on its surface is truth. Some of us, when we see an image, we accept it as true, while some of us question its authenticity. One of the influences that affects our understanding of an image is perspective, which is controlled and directed by the image maker. John Hiller's conceptual piece titled cause of death is a good example of the influence perspective has on the way we interpret an image. It is a cause of death by crushed, falling, drowning, fire. Intentionally cropping the image, a specific narrative is created. This slide shows Hilliard's complete image minus a cropping. Realizing this, it made me think about the photo books I've read in the past. One in particular came to mind, titled A Day in the Life of America. The concept of the book was for a team of photographers to take images across the US starting at the crack of dawn, continuing for 24 hours, completing a day. The book was a big hit that led to the development of a series, such as A Day in the Life of the Soviet Union, A Day in the Life of Japan, A Day in the Life of China, and so on. There were a total of 11 books. The questions I started to ask myself was, what were the editor's intentions and what they wanted to portray? Patriotism, nostalgia, capitalism, democracy, truth, hardworking, youth. What demographics were they marketing to? The middle class, families, wannabe photojournalists, or teenagers? Eventually, this led me to think about other books in the series. What was the editor's intention when it came to selecting the final images, knowing that the books were aimed for American audiences? I started going through all the books in the series, looking at the images, trying to decipher the photographer and editor's intentions. Some of the images focused on the otherness in the culture. Some images fell into the stereotypes that Americans could relate to. Other images showed Western influences into their culture, which blurred the lines between the cultures. I decided to go with the latter and blur the differences between the countries in the series. I concentrated on the similarities in the images of people, the environment, and the landscape. It took me a while, but I created an installation in my grad program. Its reception and critique was not well received. My intention was unclear. The majority believed, well, in my belief, I think that was the reason why. I believe people felt overwhelmed with so much information coming at them. One person thought that the installation was interesting. I posed a question that if this was Thomas Hirschhorn's work on display, would reviewers take the time to view the work? Yes was a response. Then why not mine? Because you're not Thomas Hirschhorn was a response. So this image shows the work and installation of Thomas Hirschhorn. I learned from the setback and took a break for several years. The idea still percolated in my mind, especially the question, what was the editor's intention? Years later, I stumbled upon a book titled Odyssey, The Art of Photography at National Geographic. What caught my attention is that this book drew from National Geographic's archives and claimed that the images selected are some of the best from the 19th and 20th century. The question I asked myself was, what made them so the best photos? As I thought about this, I also thought about my own photography. If the image I took was unique, how many other photographs were similar to mine? Why add another image to the pile of images that existed in the world? So I decided not to photograph, but to appropriate the images from Odyssey and create my own images according to the perception and experiences in my life. This brings me back to my youth. In my teens, my family was poor and could not afford posters, so I would make my own by using a couple of rock music and skateboard magazines that I own. I would cut them, stitch them together to make bigger images and have them hanging on the wall. As I stated in the beginning of my presentation, my family experiences had an impact on me. Its ripple effect is still influencing me, including in the creation process of what is being exhibited both at Rollins at UCF. So that's it for my presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all three presenters for sharing a little bit of information and images about your work. And I will pass it over to Dr. Carbonell.
Thank you, Shannon, and thank you to the artists for those amazing presentations. There's so much to unpack in terms of the themes that you all work on and address in your in the works that are shown at both venues as part of the Pathways exhibition. And I was wondering, and it's the same question for each of you, if you can talk a little bit about what are some of the challenges that you face as artists who are creating work and getting the work out there in the world, and you're addressing very personal themes and very personal experiences, memory, identity, specific events and experiences in your work. What are some of the challenges that you face when you are creating these works and translating some of that into a visual that now you're sharing with a broader public, and how do you overcome those challenges? We can start with Channing.
Well, sorry, I had to pause because I had to like formulate my answer. When I usually make, I tend to not like the work until it's done. Even if I already have all the sketches, all the reference material, all the tools ready to go. I already have a plan. I already know what I hope it'll turn out, and midway or halfway finishing, I'll be like, oh, this is terrible. I don't like it. I just want to be done with it. So when I finally complete it, I'll end up being like, okay, now it's time to either move on to the next piece or maybe just put it away for another time. But if I make something for maybe an upcoming show, and if it does relate to a personal story, or if I put a bit of myself in the work, where it's like people are going to ask, why did you want to reference this? Why not just go for a more broader theme, And I mean, I feel like that, like as artists, isn't that what we're supposed to do, is like tell our own stories visually through these works. And yeah.
Thank you. And there's always something that resonates with different viewers in different ways, right? Aimee, how about you? What are some of the challenges and obstacles that you face, and how do you overcome them?
I kind of think that the series that I just recently have done, so it's during my final year in graduate school, and I came to school as a portrait painter, and now I've been creating these really strange covered women, and it feels like an anti-portrait. And for me, I think one of the bigger challenges was trying to find out why. I just kept, as an artist, you're like, I'm just gonna make this, and it felt intuitive, but once it's out there, it's up to everybody else to interpret. So it was very important for me to align with the Women and Gender Studies department to help me find the words and ask, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I need to deep dive into it, right? So I think it's been, that was a challenge. I think talking about work in general can be kind of difficult as an artist when you're like, I don't know why I did that, to tell you the truth, right? But it is important to reflect on it and to see kind of this trajectory of, why this has gone this way. But yeah, I think that would be one of the bigger challenges, was coming to grad school with like such a different idea of what my work was going to look like, what my thesis is going to look like. And then just with all of these, life experiences, life events, tough things that have happened and tough things to talk about, and trying to find a visual language that can keep it vague enough, a little light, but at the same time, like kind of give you that idea that there's something more to it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think for all the artists included in the exhibition, there's that push-pull between the very personal and the more universal themes that viewers are responding to, right? Which is great. Ivan, how about you? Some of the challenges, you talked about some of them even in your process, right? For creating things when you were in your youth and your teens, but how about now as an artist? What are some of your challenges?
Two things. Time is always a big factor for me. I try not to move too quickly because sometimes I'll overlook stuff, but also I don't want to take too much time because then, you know, it's a balance for, it's always been for me, time. And then the other thing too is I know from my mindset from the beginning, I know it's going to have something about me in it. So exposing myself, I've gotten used to it. I don't want to, but I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about me, but as a shared experience that people can relate. So that balance of opening up my artwork and having people come in, that's very important for me. I'm not trying to be on a soapbox. I'm not trying to say I'm right, you're wrong. That balance is very difficult for me. And I don't try to become too symbolic or too incognito or very hard for people to read. Like Jasper John's work, I've always had difficult with because he has so much secret meaning in his work. I try not to be that. He's successful at it. I'm not. I don't want to go through all that aspect of it. I want it to be more relatable. I want to relate to everybody because, you know, a lot of us experience loneliness and we want to relate to people. We want to talk to people. So I found out that through my artwork, that's the best way I can do is to have a conversation with people. And I try to keep that balance.
Great, thank you so much for sharing that, Ivan. I know that Shannon has some questions, and then we're going to go to questions from our audience.
Thank you so much, everyone. And so I will sort of have the follow-up in terms of the conversation about your personal, that balance, I think is really well said about balancing the personal narratives and then that shared experience, you know, like Ivan just said. And that's really evident in the exhibition, both at UCF and at Rollins. And so my question for each of you is how did you come to determine that the mediums and processes that you are using are the best for communicating that to your audience? And maybe a follow-up is, are there new materials and processes that you might consider incorporating, or maybe you're experimenting with already? Whoever wants to jump in can go first.
Can you repeat
Jump
the questions
in.
again, please?
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh,
No,
Ivan, you want to go ahead?
Oh, no, just repeat the questions, please.
Oh.
So how did you determine the materials and processes that you're using is the best for communicating your intention as an artist? And are there any new materials and processes that you might be experimenting with or thinking about?
I will answer. I am a painter. I have always been really interested in oil paint. During the pandemic, when I didn't have a studio, I did get more interested in using inks and works on paper, gouache, which was like surprisingly a very difficult medium to work with, by the way. But yeah, I think for me, painting is, I don't know, it's there's something to painting for like these like colors and the scene that you can kind of create, even though it is like traditionally in the rectangle, right? There's something very immersive and alive that paintings bring. And for me, it's been about scale lately and having the feeling of life size or sometimes bigger than life size in this immersion. So for me to tell these stories, I do want to immerse my viewer and make them feel like on this similar level, or to feel confronted, or to feel integrated or overwhelmed. And for me, just painting is the way to do it. And it's my language anyway. And yeah, I mean, I would be open to trying new things, but I'm such a, like, I'm a painting nerd. So, but thank you for the question, Shannon.
Thank you so much.
I can go next. So I usually write my ideas down in my sketchbook. And if I keep coming to it, if I keep thinking about it, then I'll go to the next step, which is start creating the work and start experimenting. And then if I like what I'm seeing, then, or I learn through errors, and then I start honing in and eventually start thinking, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to say? I actually work very intuitive sometimes. Well, no, actually not sometimes, the majority of the time I'm very intuitive. I try not to figure out stuff. I know it's related somewhere down the line. Eventually it'll start showing up. Everything's connected, and that's my belief. The music I listen to, my past, my future, my present, my work, the people that I know, they're all connected somehow, and it shows up on my work intuitively. And that's how eventually it helped me develop this body of work with the collage and all that. I just had all these stuff going on during COVID that were, I guess, coming to the surface. The quarantine, the violence, the isolation. And so it's very noticeable a lot. And through the Odyssey, that's the title of the exhibition, or my pieces. It's the Odd I See, which is a take on Odyssey. And so for future work, I might be doing, you know, I've got a lot of projects in my mind, either photo-based or video. And there, I'm thinking of actually starting up another collage series after this, where I'm combining my favorite photographer and one of his famous books, and then combining another photographer that's very current. So, and then collaging the two images. Basically, it's going to be like a conversation with the two photographers and see what happens. So it's going to be Dina Lawson with Alex Soth. So
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Channing?
I've been getting back into bookmaking because when I was going to school, grad school, and even after graduating, you know, going through quarantine and not having a big studio space anymore, I turned to making little books. So I started another series called Atlas Lost, where different chapters will focus on a family member. So starting from like my mom's side, so her parents, then her, then the middle chapter is me, and then towards the other end of the series will be like my dad and then his parents. So it'd be like a story of this lost atlas. The center of my world is leading up from my parents and the objects that relate to them, and maybe where they come from, where they were born. And so I've been doing a lot of book things, and then I've been recording, doing these little videos, which is quite popular right now. It's a little app called TikTok, where that you would record anything and everything in your life. So I started using that with my practice, where when I finish a page in a sketchbook, or I don't know, when I'm at work, I'll do a little quippet of, oh, this little day in the life. But actually, it's a really great way to document what you're working on and progress of, like, this is how it started, this is in the middle of it, and this is the ending, and this is where it is in a show or in the collection or the back of a closet, you know, where the rest of the artwork is. And then I've been, I don't know if I could show it, been doing little you can't see it, but you're doing whatever. Been doing little sketchbook drawings of maybe a future series similar to the Cosmic Connection one, where it'll be like a mural size one where you see all these swirling figures, and, you know, a little bit more of like adding botanicals and maybe including objects that are important to other people or other strangers, and finding out, like, you know, when I meet somebody, what's important to them, you know, because this series was about me, but it would be nice to know what was important to other people, and maybe translate that visually as well, because my connections with people are growing. And yeah, so that's, and experimenting. I mean, I don't know if taking photos and doing video is really experimentational. I would like to one day do a performance installation where I, like in the second to last slide I had, where I had the objects hanging or suspended from the air. Maybe I'll create a chandelier of objects, a chandelier of fabric. So as a public work, I'll invite people to maybe walk through the space with these hanging items. So maybe they'll look like the paintings and drawings that I made for the series, where it looks like, okay, they're tumbling with it, you know. And yeah, that's like, you know, of course, the extreme dream, if I ever find the right place or possible residency opportunity, you know, try that out. So that might be like a future thing I would like to experiment more, is have like a cool installation series that, you know, speak about what I'm, with the stories that I'm trying to translate.
Thank you all so much. And I'll pass it over to Dr. Carbonell.
Okay, so we have a question for Ivan specifically, and this is from Anna, Dr. Anna Heller, our museum director. I'm going to read her question. She says, "Thank you all for your wonderful presentations. Question for Ivan. When you became an adult, did the question about identity, American versus Colombian, persist? I'm asking because I had the experience of immigration as a young adult, and so I had a similar experience of wanting to be an American in my 20s. Do you feel like you overcame that through your art?"
I understand myself better, but to this day, I still feel 1 foot between two worlds. It's sometimes it's wonderful because I could understand, but sometimes it's sad because I've been away from Colombia now since 2009, and I feel very distant from the country. I have a hard time relating sometimes, but at the same time, I'm here and I have a hard time relating here too. It's really weird. It's a hater. I don't want to say hate because it's such a strong word. It's an uncomfortableness that I've learned over years to manage. One thing my father always had was a chip on his shoulder. Growing up here, everything that happened to him, he blamed it on because people saw him as Spanish. He had a heavy Spanish accent, and he always had a chip on his shoulder against everybody. And at an early age, I decided not to carry a chip on my shoulder, but accept who I am, and in a weird sort of way, not become invisible, but not put emphasis on my Latino identity. I am very proud of being Latino, but at the same time, I'm very proud of being a U.S. citizen, American at that aspect. So yeah, it's very difficult still to this day.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Ivan. And Anna says, thank you, and it's complicated. I wanted to ask to any of you who would like to take this question, what has your participation in this exhibition so far meant to you? How do you see your work now in the company of these other artists in the context of two academic institutions? How do you feel this changes your thought process about your own art making? And maybe, I don't know, if you feel comfortable sharing, what was your process when you saw the call for artists and thinking through it and deciding to submit to Pathways? For any of you who would like to take that, I would love to hear and know more about that.
Well, I can start.
Sure.
I really can't remember when I applied, to tell you the truth, because I'm constantly applying and there's a lot of rejection involved. So you get used to that. So I was very much surprised when I got selected. In a weird sort of way, it is validating, but I've been an artist for a long time, but it's validating in a sense. And I'm approaching all this very optimistically. I'm really happy. I don't know what doors are going to open, but I know doors will be opening for me. So, and then at the same time too, I am going to be taking more time seriously to make more body of work. A lot of my close friends know me as a very serious art maker, and I do, you know, when I hit the pavement, I hit it hard when I'm making artwork. But I've never tried to make it as 100% full-time career, and I'm going to try to aim for that.
That sounds like a great plan. Thank you for sharing that. Who wants to go next? Channing, go ahead.
I can go. I think I heard about the call, and then I saw the application for the call. I applied thinking, oh, I probably won't get it, you know, because it's a lot of self-doubt. You know, we always criticize ourselves the worst than other people would assume so. And I was like, oh, it'll be, you know, if I get it, it'll be a nice opportunity. I'll get to put my work up in in the Rollins Museum and UCF. And even though I went to UCF, I didn't get a BFA, I got a BA, so I never shown in that UCF gallery before. So I was thinking like, oh, if I get in, I'll get to finally show in that space, and then also get to show at Rollins Museum, which is a lovely facility. I think when I got the email, I thought it was going to be another rejection letter, because since graduating, you know, you apply to a lot of opportunities, residencies, and you know, when I saw the acceptance form, I was at work and I was like screamed to everyone like, I got in, and everyone's like, you got into what? And, you know, and the rest is history. You know, the process of like communication and sharing like, hey guys, I got in. Let's I hope you guys come out and see the work. And because the work hasn't been shown to the public in a couple of years, like when I graduated, this series was supposed to be part of the MFA thesis, and when it was right when the pandemic was hitting, there was no MFA thesis, there was no art talks, there was no catalog, nothing. It was all gone because everyone went to survival mode. So the whole 3 years of working up to this body of work was gone, you know, or I felt like it was like, well, you know, all of it for 9, you know, so being able to have this opportunity to show it after so long of it, you know, being hidden away, it was really like a fantastic opportunity, because I wanted to share the series. I wanted people to see the books even, because those have only been seen by like 1 or 2 people, you know, and I'd hope to like share that with people in a gallery setting. And yeah, you know, we were all going through something together as artists or as even as individuals. It's nice to see that all this work that we put in with these other people who are thinking about similar things, similar ideas. It was really nice to see the show come together as if like we were already collaborating on some invisible frequency, you know, long before we even met each other. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you. And I think that cohesion, that kind of dialogue that's happening in both venues, right? In the install as it exists in both the museum and the UCF Art Gallery, shows kind of that dialogue between the work. Aimee, how was this for you?
Oh, it's been a great experience so far. I think for me, I got the advertisement, of course, through my list server at my school. But I agree with both participants that it has been a very validating experience, especially as I had wrapped up my last year. You know, the last 2 years I spent my graduate career during, you know, in the pandemic, during quarantine. So it's been great to put that work out that didn't get to show anywhere, just got to be shown through Zoom, right? And yeah, it's such a great opportunity, and I've really appreciated how professional and how I've received so much support. I think it's an honor to be shown with so many great artists as well. It's a very talented group, both beautiful venues as well. And I'm very excited, especially for the upcoming mentorship and for continuing this community. And I just think that it was a really good opportunity, regardless of the win of who wins or not. I was talking to Carlos, he's like, we're all winners, right? Like, and we really are, because yeah, we get this. So thank you so much.
Thank you for that. And I agree with Mr. Malamud that this is an experience that for all of us, right, has been super enriching for Shannon and myself also as co-curators to get to know your work in more depth, all of you and your practice and what you're doing and what all the finalists are doing and working on. What is one thing that you all would like viewers, visitors to both the UCF Art Gallery and the museum? What would you like, in one sentence, if you can very briefly summarize, what would you like viewers to take away when they encounter your work, when they become acquainted with your work, from your perspective? Aimee, you're on screen, so you're welcome to get started.
That they think I'm the best artist ever. No. What I would want them to think, oh, I would hope that they would take away the type of weird surreality that my paintings hopefully exhibit. I hope that they are left with more questions than answers. And I hope that this talk maybe was a little more clarifying, and that I'm always open to discussions, by the way. If anyone ever wants to reach out to me, I love to. Yeah, I guess that's what I hope. So
that's a good one. Always, questions are always good, right? After experience works of art. How about you, Channing? What would you like viewers to take away from your work?
I hope they're wanting more to see where the story goes. Hope they are transported, maybe a little bit of escapism with my work. I want to take them to places they haven't thought of before. Yeah, that's my one sentence.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And Ivan, how about you? What would you like viewers to take away?
A memory. Doesn't matter if it's a good memory, bad memory. I'll take away a memory and view the world with more possibilities than what they entered into the museum with.
That sounds great. I think everyone, you all, I think, agree and present possibilities and opening doors, right, to different experiences in different ways, asking questions, transporting us to a different world, possibilities. This has been so enriching and so great. Thank you all for sharing, for being open about your practice and your obstacles and your hopes for the near future and moving forward. Shannon, do you have final thoughts to share?
Thank you again so much. This has been really great listening to everyone. And I just wanted to remind everyone who's here on Zoom that we have our second and last virtual artist talk on Tuesday, June 21st at 6 o'clock. So same time, same channel. And we'll hear from the other 3 artists in Pathways. And yes, and we're looking forward to this continued collaboration. So if there's any emerging artists in the audience or attending the exhibitions, we define emerging artists as an artist who is based in Florida and that has never had a solo exhibition. So please, stay engaged with this program as it continues for the next couple of years, and look forward to the next Pathways call for artists. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you all for joining us tonight, and thank you to our virtual visitors. If you haven't been to the exhibition, we encourage you to stop by the Rollins Museum of Art and the UCF Art Gallery at the University of Central Florida to go see the exhibitions. I was thinking of my alma mater, the University of Illinois, when I was talking earlier, but I hope you visit the exhibitions, pick up a copy of the catalog, which you can get at either venue. And then I hope you join us for the next round of artist talks. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
Bye, thanks.